Yo, what is going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Big Cat 188 and in today's video I'll be covering over the Iron Man Laser Samurai build. Now this build isn't as strong as my previous Iron Man Rocket build. If you guys haven't seen that already, I'm going to link it down in the description below. Be sure to check it out because that has the most damage output for Iron Man. But this build, it's very easy to activate the battery effect. If you guys don't know what that is, I'll link my video down in the description below also for the battery effect and how it works. It's extremely easy to activate the battery effect. The only thing is with this build that you guys will probably love is that it's more fun to play. For some of you guys are like, oh, I don't want to be spamming one ability, or I don't like the play style of this build. Well, this build completely negates all that because you get to move around a lot. You get to use more than just your lasers or whatever. You can use your melee, it does not matter, because if you guys do not know, the lasers are actually based off of melee damage and not precision damage. So I'm going to be showing you guys the entire build, all the stats that I'm using, all the skills that I'm using, and yeah man, let's hop straight into it. But before all that, hey yo, look, I know you are new to the channel, man, and if you are, yo, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you guys do enjoy this video, hit it with a like button right now, man, because you guys already know I'm gonna give you guys the best builds in the game so far, keep you guys up to date with the best builds in the game. So yeah, all right, now let's get to the build. Alright everybody, first things first, if you're wearing an ugly Iron Man suit, this build will not work just because your character looks so trash, bro. The enemies are just not afraid and they'll all target you. So make sure you pick, you know, maybe the iconic Iron Man suit just to make sure you look better, and then you guys are going to be ready for today's build. Alright guys, so first things first, I'm not going to read off all the passes. You guys already know how I do. Second off, you want the first slot, the EMP, because the EMP is going to allow you to stun nearby enemies. So if you guys get into that crazy moment where every ad is just on you, bam, pop that, you're overcharged, and on top of that, all the enemies get stunned. For the second half of the support hero, we want the EMP amplifier because of course we're going to increase the range of that and we're going to increase the intensity of that by 30%, and pretty much just going to make the area of effect way bigger than what it already is alone. So yeah, we're going to rock with those two. For the assault heroic ability, we have on the Omega Beam, and of course on the other side we have on the energy condenser, because like I said, we always just want to keep these you know, pretty dang strong. I'm not too much of a fan of the reserve capacitors because it's pretty trash to me. So we're going to keep the Omega Beam just because it does a lot of damage output, and then we're going to drop a heroic orb whenever we do kill somebody with this. For the ultimate, I am keeping the Magnum Missile Barrage, and on the other side I just keep the Energy Star. This doesn't really matter too much because I really just call him the ultimate kind of when I'm about to die. That's pretty much all I use it for, honestly. Defense, you guys should have all of these abilities. The main stuff in this is the energy barrier right here, because when we go to our mastery tree right here, on the middle one we have the tactical barrier. This one is going to give us some critical attack chance. Now normally I would rock with the empower barrier, but we don't really need this too much just because we have melee on our side in this build. So if we need to get our intrinsic meter back up, we can just hit them with melee attacks. On top of that, the lasers themselves really don't take up as much intrinsic meter as the rockets. So for the other side of the utility on the right, we have the air superiority, just because honestly all these other versions are pretty trash anyway, so we just kept the air superiority. For the other side, we have on the energized pulse add shock damage. Now that is the counter. If you guys don't know what the counter is, that's when the enemies have the blue and yellow circles on them and you press R2 to call in your counter, and pretty much this will immediately shock them. So it'll just automatically apply the battery effect for us because they are going to now be shock charged with the shock status effect, and obviously our lasers are automatically plasma burn. They don't fill up the plasma burn intrinsic meter, but they're automatically plasma burn. Now for the intrinsic ability mastery tree, we have on overcharged damage boost, because obviously when we get overcharged we want to increase our damage higher. For the middle part, we have stun intrinsic, because with the lasers are really meant to stun a lot. That is why we will not be running out of our intrinsic meter really fast, because we get a boost in our intrinsic energy whenever we do stun someone. But if you guys do not like that, you can always increase the overcharge duration by another 2 seconds. That's not a bad option either, but I just prefer this right here so I don't run out of intrinsic. And for the last one, we are going to have on arc reactor capacity, just to increase the maximum amount of intrinsic supercharge energy by 15%. Or you could also have on the reactor kinetic atomizer, but honestly I prefer the maximum amount of supercharge energy. So yeah, really just pick whatever you want feels best. I like this one way better than the other one. For the range, we have on everything for the laser, because all the middle ones are for the lasers, so you know. And for the combat tree, we are going to have on the combo finisher mastery, because we are going to be doing a lot of laser attack heavy finishers with the lasers So yeah, we're gonna increase that damage by 25%. For the middle, we have on the takedown spawns a heroic orb, and for the last one, we're going to reduce the intrinsic meter cost for all ranged attack and weapons, because these other ones don't really affect us, because like I said, this counts as melee and we're not going to really, we're not ranged. We're just not ranged, so these two don't matter. All right, guys, so moving on to gear, I have the exact same melee piece that I had for my rocket build, because like I said, that last perk, Armory Flare, is extremely good for, you know, just increasing your critical attack damage, and I don't have to be overcharged to do it. Also, our second perk, the Plasma Accelerators. So pretty much when I do the hold square and I do the light attack signature, that is going to apply the plasma effect on them. And if you guys look at my next piece of gear, which are my repulsors, my second perk right there, our laser attacks are going to be gamma based. So if I apply the Plasma Accelerators plasma burn with the signature attack, I can plasma burn them, and then I can start hitting them with my lasers and it'll do damage. Or I can literally just hit them with my lasers alone, because like I said, the lasers are weird. They count as gamma based and plasma based. The gamma meter is going to be the only meter that goes up, but the lasers themselves are still going to have that plasma damage effect. So technically your lasers are both plasma burn and they're both gamma radiation burn. No matter which way you do it, you're going to be fine. However you get your opposite effect on, because the lasers, you have both the positive and the negative on your lasers. So it doesn't matter which you apply on the enemies. One thing to mention, a lot of you guys don't know, how do you know what's a light signature attack and whatever? Well, if you guys go to your primary skills and all that, you see how under the name it says thruster uppercut, but under that it says signature attack. That is how you know if something's a signature attack or not. And obviously the melee is usually the light attacks and everything else is usually the heavy attack. So for like my lasers, right here it says Photon Samurai, it is a heavy attack. And then for the first one, I believe this is a ranged attack. This is a ranged power attack, and then we have just a straight power attack. So that's how you guys know what kind of attack you are hitting them with, you know, because not every attack counts as a heavy, a power, or, you know, a signature attack. All right, so for our chest piece, honestly, I kind of just went for more damage because I kind of have a lot of resolve already. So I kind of wanted something with a lot of damage. Now, if you guys could get perks like, oh, taking damage gives you a damage buff, that's pretty great to have. Honestly, I have this parrying, gives me a vulnerability buff. That's not too bad either. Now, for the heroic piece of gear, this one, I love this one a lot. I had it in my last video as well. I defeat 3 enemies and I get a heroic charge burst. On top of that, defeating the enemy can also give me a damage buff, so I don't have to worry about that either. Now, if that first part, the arrow's blessing, can be changed out for something like increased heavy combo finishers or increased power attacks, because we will be using the power attack sometimes, those would all be pretty great. Like you guys can see, my stats are pretty trash. Obviously you want some might in there. The resolve isn't too bad to have either though. For the minor artifacts, we have on might artifacts, pretty much just 2 might artifacts just to boost our might even higher, because we will need a decent amount of resolve because we're melee and we don't want to get one-shotted. I don't like the glass. Iron Man's probably the worst character to be the glass cannon with, because yeah, just don't do it. And finally, for the major artifact, now you always have some options, but I think the Tactagon is probably the better option for the laser samurai build, just because you're going to be putting a bunch of status effects on all the enemies, so you can do more damage to them with the status effect. On top of that, it gives you a little bit of might and a little bit of valor. So if I go and look at all of my statistics, we are sitting at 280 might, melee damage at 1859, valor we are at 101 with 200% critical damage. We don't really care about the heroic too much, and the proficiency is extremely low. I would like to bump that up, but like I said before, proficiency does not matter too much because the damage buff gives you like 40 or 50% extra crit chance. So I'm never too worried about having low critical chance because it gets boosted up in the end anyway after I just kill a few enemies. Now for defense, this is what's kind of important. You want to have a decent amount of resolve. I'm sitting at 13,000, not too low and not like a super lot like that I'm a tank. So I'm cool with having this kind of resolve. 13,000 is pretty good. We have a little bit of resilience, so you know we don't get obliterated just because you know we got hit by an attack. The heroic rating, we have intensity at 53%, definitely way more than you really need. You only need about like 40% intensity, because after that it's just going to fall off. You're not really going to get that much more intensity out on the enemy just for having a higher percentage, so it does kind of have a diminishing return effect. And yeah guys, that is the build right here. If you guys like it, leave a comment down in the description below. Tell me how you feel about it. Do you guys like this build, or do you guys prefer the rocket build? I haven't tried out the repulsors yet. If you guys like that, let me know how you feel about Iron Man in general in the comments below. Other than that, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm Big Cat 188 and I'm out. Peace.